Hello, my name is Lucas Cutler, and this is my oral exam video. I am going to start with the music since 1900. Here's my study guide, and struggle number 1 is tradition versus innovation. Struggle number 2 is high art versus audience accessibility. Struggle number 3 is individual expression goals. And then how we are selling music in this time period. And since this is from today, it is the internet, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, radio. Music is very easy to find, and it's easy to reach people in this time. And where is music performed? And this is anywhere. It could be a street, the mall, an outside venue, an inside venue, the gym, your own house, just wherever you want it to be. And then composer number 1 and title of piece, I have 433 by John Cage. That was the one that was very interesting. And then composer number 2 and title of piece was The Banshee by Henry Cowell. Now on to the Romantic period. I have struggle number 1 is unsettle rather than soothe. Unsettle rather than soothe. Sorry. Struggle number 2, against rather than working within society. Struggle number 3, art displays creators' distinctive originality and self-expression. How are we telling our music in the Romantic period? This was right after the Industrial Revolution, so instruments were very affordable, and this is how we sold music in the Romantic period. And then where is music performed? The public concert hall. And then composer number 1 and title of piece is Elf King by Schubert. And then composer number 2 and title of piece, I'm going to try and say this, An Alpine Symphony by Strauss. I hope I said his name right. Now on to the classical period. We have aspect number 1 is modeled music after the Greek and Romans, and they also modeled their structures after the Greeks and Romans. And then aspect number 2, works characterized by clarity and regularity of structure. Aspect number 3 was enlightenment, which is stress the centrality of reason in human experience. And then where are we selling music in the classical period is, well, they didn't really sell music. They worked for people in the patronage system. They would live in a palace, which is where is music performed is in the palace, because they were hired by very rich people to play whatever music they ordered them to play, so they didn't get to pick what music they wanted to play. And then composer number 1 and title of piece is Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven. And then composer number 2 and title of piece is Ein klein Nachtmusik by Mozart. I hope I said that title right. And then next is the Baroque period. I mess up the title in right there. Don't mind that. And then aspect number 1 is, this is where we develop the opera. And then aspect number 2, during this time there was an absolute monarchy. And then aspect number 3, during this time composers were not paid very much, so they had other jobs. Actually, they were not paid to make music. And the next question, how are we selling music? They were not paid to sell music. They had to work other jobs, and they only made music for special occasions. And then where is music performed? Music was performed in public courts at this time. And then composer number 1 and title of piece is Messiah by Handel. And then composer number 2 and title of piece is Watch It Off by Bach. I hope I said that title right. And then the last period is the medieval and Renaissance period. And aspect number 1 is secular and sacred music. Aspect number 2 is and aspect number 2 is music as a social activity. And aspect number 3 is women were adored. And then how are we selling music in this time is, this was the time of the trade route and like everything trade, so music moved along the trade route with all the other trades, and people would share their musical talents and ideas on the trade route. Excuse me. And then where is excuse me. And then where is music performed? Music was performed in the church. And then composer number 1 in title of piece was Pope Marcellus Mass by Palestrina. And then composer number 2 in title of piece was Fair Phyllis by John Farmer. And then now we have the differences in the different periods. And the difference between the music since 1900, which is where we are now, and the Romantic period is the instrument choices. The music since 1900 had more modern instruments versus the Romantic period, and the sad, very expressive emotions in the Romantic period kind of died down during what period we're in right now. And then the difference between the classical and Romantic, the classical was very more structured and made everything pretty and like made everything to seem like it was okay even when it was not, and music was very structured. And then during the Romantic period, this is when people tried to break the rules and avoid the rules with music, and people were not happy, and they made sure to share that with their sad, exaggerated emotions. The difference between classical and Baroque period, and classical was more about emotions, and the Baroque was more about sticking to a specific way to do things within music without letting their emotions get in the way. And the difference between Baroque and medieval/Renaissance period. The medieval/Renaissance period had no specific way of making music, while the Baroque period had a very ordered way to do things. And then music was seen as a commodity to be sold, which it was not like that in the Baroque period. And it was also seen as a social activity, music was, that brought people together. And then the last thing that the medieval and Renaissance period is not like the Baroque is, it separated secular and sacred music. Thank you.